OGs in the DMV, we back again, YouTube. The OGs are back again. And this month, it is Black History Month. And as three African-American seasoned brothers, we want to talk about African-Americans and the NFL and how they existed back in the 80s and what they did back in before we were actually aware of what was going on. And we would love to know what's going on in the 80s and how they were treated, what happened, what was the pluses and the minuses during that period of time. And today we got a special guest here today with the OGs, YouTube. And I want to definitely have Deacon just welcome her into us. Deacon, who we got coming in today?
Well, we got a brother today. Now we are Washington Redskins, Washington football team, Washington Commanders podcast unit. And we do all DMV sports. You might be wondering to yourself, why are we bringing this guy on? Because he's not from DC. Well, he didn't play for the Washington football team, but he is from DC. Right down the street, Eastern High School. The man has cred, street cred. So that's why we brought him on. He's a wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. He was drafted in 1983. That is correct. 1983 was the Eastern High School. Let's welcome on Mr. Michael Martin. How you doing there, Mike?
What's going on?
What's up, Mike? What's up, baby?
Always enjoy when you come on.
Living. I'm here.
That's right.
That's what we like. We had another guest coming on. Who knows if that fellow show up? If he does, we will bring him on. But right now, we're talking to Mike.
Don't be a surprise.
That's right. Hey, Mike. So back when you got drafted, now you went to Illinois college, right?
Yes.
So I'm assuming that's in the early 80s, of course, but late 79. What was it like playing football in Illinois?
Well, before I got there, Illinois was a terrible football team.
Oh, that's cold.
We wound up getting Mike White in the spring of my freshman year, and he came from San Francisco. So he brought in the Bill Walsh offense, and man, we started throwing that thing all over the place. Wound up being a great situation for me. And my senior year, I wound up leading the nation in receiving. Okay. And so that was a blessing for me to go from because my first coach was Gary Moeller. Gary Moeller was from Michigan. Michigan, they were like Ohio State. Run. That's all they did. Mm-hmm. And maybe a play action pass to like Anthony Carter or somebody. But when Mike White came in, he said, hey, we're going to change the dynamics of the Big Ten. He said, we're going to start throwing the ball, and they're going to have to contend with us. And so that put me in a great situation to be able to do the things that I was good at, which was getting open. If you play me man-to-man, bump and run, I would have a smile on my face because I was like, hey, you know what it is. Give me the ball. I'm about to get busy. And that worked very well for me.
So as a fella coming out of DC, did you have any kind of was any shock value going to Illinois? I know Chicago is pretty black too, but I'm just saying, as far as the university is concerned, you have your athletes separated sometimes from the actual college students, where you have a different kind of expectation.
It was interesting. When I first got on campus, I think the university was maybe 17% black at the time. Mm-hmm. And so all I saw were white folks, but everybody was so cool. Mm. You speak to folks, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? It was like, I was like, okay, man, I said, this is going to be great. And then when they would have a black function, I'm like, wait a minute, where did all these black folks come from? Seemed like it was so many because that was their time to get out and meet everybody and shine and, get together. And so I'm thinking, man, I said, you know what? I think this is going to work. This is going to work for me. I get a chance to be very diverse in the people that I meet. And so I made friends with a little bit of everybody.
That's good. So one more question I'm going to throw it to Trey. When you got to the NFL, that first year, you played kickoff return, punt return, and weren't you didn't you get an award for that? I forget what the name is.
Yeah, I in '84 I led the NFL in punt returns. Mm-hmm. I had 15.7 average, and so I got an award. They used to call it the Mackey Awards. Now it's NFL Honors, and it's televised.
Right.
Back then, you go to Chicago, you hook up, you see everybody who won all the different awards that for their position, and I wound up winning for punt return.
Mm-hmm. All right,
that's awesome.
Go ahead, Trey.
Awesome. So listen, one of the things that we call ourselves is the OGs of the DMV show.
Yeah, y'all looks like some OGs.
Hey, it's funny. I was just about to say, how this dude older than us and looks so young. We got a gentleman we call China Black. I'm wondering if you are doing the same thing, sir.
That's my wife. My wife keeps me young, man.
Okay. Don't worry today. You don't brought the bodyguard in the equation, so we're gonna stay away from that.
Yeah,
but I do got a question.
Yeah.
So because of the fact that we get an opportunity to look at individuals that we admire and look up to, so we definitely appreciate you coming on, sir. But I got a question for you, right? Mm-hmm. And this is coming from a gentleman who raised me along with my father, who's no longer here. God bless the dead. However, this individual stepped up, and as an example, one thing about this particular month and us as a people, the generation that preceded us, man, I think broke the mold. It's just sometimes, man, I think we get stressed out just trying to equate the things that you guys have done and other individuals ahead of you. So as a ball player during that time, we kind of caught the tail end of individuals that preceded you. What would you say is the difference between what you know as a black athlete and what you know as the new generation? This question is coming from James Green out of Fort Washington, one of the individuals who I'm talking about, proud to say his name. If you were to say, are the young folk more into the money or actually the craft? Meaning, are they more into buying a fleet of cars versus getting the golden jacket?
It's funny that you mentioned that. I had a conversation with someone not too long ago, and we were talking about how serious are these guys when it comes to wanting to win. They're making so much money today. I mean, the money is ridiculous that these guys are getting. Yeah, if you look at some of the moves that guys make, you would think that it's made for, okay, I want to pair up with somebody that's going to, with some people that's going to allow me to win. It's the dollars, though. The dollars make a difference to these guys. Back when I played, because we didn't make the kind of money that these guys were making, a lot of us we wanted a chance to win, but we also wanted an opportunity to play more. These guys, it's all about the dollar, man. They sit around and they talk about how they want to win, they want to go somewhere where they can win. How many guys have you actually seen who took a lateral move in order to win? It's not happening. They took a lateral move because somebody's offering them more money. I give a prime example. I can't think of the guy's name. He was a tight end for the Bengals last year in the Super Bowl when they went to the Super Bowl. Can't think of his name. He took a salary increase to go to the Jets. Now, keep in mind, last year the Jets were horrible.
Mm-hmm.
He left an opportunity to win, to get to a Super Bowl, more so than to make a few extra million. And you can't fault him for that. A lot of guys do what they need to do for their families. But the thing is, if winning is important, you're going to figure out how, you can like leverage yourself to put yourself in the best position possible to win, but still get your dollars on top of it. There's no way I would have left Cincinnati to go to the Jets, make some money, and not be happy.
Yeah. Especially the difference between quarterbacks and difference between team structure, all that stuff.
Organizations.
Yes. And now, and so now, yeah, you made some extra money, but you sitting at home talking about, man, I should have stayed. Cincinnati got to the AFC Championship again. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting at home watching them. Yeah, I got a couple extra dollars in my pocket, but I sure would have been a lot happier being there.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I think, today's ball player, they say it. You'll hear it all the time. They want to win. They want to win. They do whatever it takes to win. But let some dollars come into play. Mm-hmm. They're taking the money and running. Now, if it's money, if it's generational money that you cannot turn away, that's a different story. That's a different story.
Yeah.
Because you got everybody in your whole generation is going to be set for life. That makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. But if you're talking about, 45 million compared to 55 million, you're talking about $10 million. But is that extra $10 million gonna make you happy? You're already getting 55.
Right.
10 more million is gonna make you that much happier, even though you're going to leave somebody that has an opportunity to win. Yeah. You got to understand it, because, hey, you're talking about money guys have never had before in their lives. But if you really want to win, you figure out how to win.
Yeah, I think most of the guys playing football now, they're all about that money. They want to be maxed out. They want that max contract.
Yes.
It's not about whether you're winning or losing. It's about, I'm getting paid the most. Y'all go out and get somebody else. Get the rest of the people to help me out. And if they don't, then it's not my fault.
Right.
So it's a big change when you play for money as opposed to when you play for the love of the game.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So does that mean that the prestige or the quality of the league is in jeopardy?
No, I don't think it means that, because regardless, you're still going to have guys wherever they go, they're going to continue to play hard. But
until they make the money.
No.
Uh-oh, did I freeze him on that one?
As Mike gets his internet correct and come back,
froze him.
Your question was good. I think that there's enough players that balance out those guys who actually just play for money. I think there's enough for us to get to both sides of it, where you have people who can drive the league, and then you have those superstars that want to get paid. So I don't really think the league is in jeopardy. I think that people are starting to notice that certain guys only want that money. They'll play hard until we've done it too. We've got people off of a contract year where they play hard. Dana Stubblefield, 18 sacks. He came here and he barely made the team. You could tell those guys on that contract year are playing differently than when it's not a contract year.
But also, what you guys have to keep in mind is that when it comes time to compete, these guys' egos are so huge. No matter how much money they're making, they're going to get out there and they're going to compete. Mm-hmm. They're going to actually battle, because the last thing you want to do is go out there and not put in everything you can, and then have another guy all up in your face calling you, telling you you garbage. I don't know why they gave you all that money. You're terrible. Mm-hmm. But you do have some guys, once they got the money that they wanted, then they're ready to step on. But the competitiveness of most athletes, they're going to get out there and they're going to battle.
True. And no disrespect to that. I mean, I get it. I used to always say, if you want to get a good Pro Bowl, every athlete that was playing in that year that's on the bubble of being cut, you put them in the Pro Bowl, and you can see an action-packed game of the Pro Bowl. Seriously, if you got a question about something, I'm wondering how you're going to do, you can go in the Pro Bowl. Because if you don't do well in the Pro Bowl, it's over for you. You're going to see a game, gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? Because they're out there hungry. And when somebody's hungry, you see it in music. The first album, it's genius. Second album is like, what? Who is this guy? Because they're hungry. They're driving in the Bentley. Everything is nice. No more McDonald's. Right. And so it's hard to generate. I'm around a lot of young folk. It's hard to get them to understand when they're in the house, mom and dad let them do anything and all of this stuff. And they're like, hey, I don't understand. What you want me to do? You want me to work harder? I'm already achieved greatness, and it's but
what happens though? What happens though is that eventually the players will see it, the veterans will see it, and they will let you have it. I watched the podcast, the Pivot, and they had Antonio Brown on, and Ryan Clark said, Antonio Brown told Ryan Clark, he said, I was fine until I wound up being the highest paid on the team. Then y'all start hating. They were like, no, we weren't hating. We were glad you got the money. We were just saying, okay, now there's no room for you to be out here being lazy. There's no room for you to be out here just going through the motions.
Right.
And because they said his head had gotten so swollen, they had to check him. He actually got into fights with a lot of the veterans. Mm-hmm. And he kept saying it was because they were jealous because he wound up being there a couple of years and wound up being the highest paid on the team. They were like, man, they ain't gonna do it. We want everybody to get their money, but you're not gonna sit up here and disrespect this team.
There you go.
You're not gonna go through the motions out here and we trying to win. Yeah, we glad you got your money. Get your money. But don't be disrespectful in the process.
But Mr. Martin, is that an old school mentality?
Say that again?
What you just said, is that an old school mentality, or is that
without a doubt? That's old school mentality.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's why it's always good to make sure you have some veterans on your team that can keep them young guys in check, regardless of how much money they made. You got old school guys that a lot of them young guys, even if they don't want to listen to, because there was one point when I was the oldest receiver on the Bengals, but I was probably, I think, out of 4 or 5 guys that played, I probably made the least amount of money. But they respect me. They respect the hell out of me. I can pull them to the side and tell them about themselves when things wasn't going right. And they were like, hey Mike, you right. Let me get myself back in order. I said, come on, man, don't let that money change you. We still trying to win.
Right.
Now, Mike, I had a question about you transitioning from being a professional athlete in Cincinnati and coming from DC too, from Southeast kid, and now you've been a professional athlete.
Woodland kid.
Woodland kid. And being a professional athlete and trying to transition out of being a professional athlete and try to make it in the broadcasting field, radio, TV, and side adventures. And I've been to Cincinnati before. Cincinnati is a great city, but there's not a lot of brothers making big money there. You know what I'm saying? So how was it that transition from being a great athlete and serving the city as an athlete, as a black athlete, and then transitioning into outside life and trying to earn a living, as a broadcaster and side money?
One of the things that I wound up doing in the later parts of my career, I started throwing parties while I was still playing. I started having parties, and the parties started just taking on a life of its own. And I mean, I created this thing called Final Friday. I know that you guys they had First Fridays in DC.
Yeah.
They were doing First Fridays in Cincinnati, but it was young. And so I said, you know what, man, I'm gonna do Final Fridays for the older crowd. And I had a hell of a run for 10 years with Final Friday. We were getting 2,500 people at Final Friday. And you're talking about hotels bidding for my services. Hotels were saying, hey, Mr. Bond, you bring your Final Friday here. You know, we do this for you. I never paid rent for a place that I ever had Final Friday in.
Wow.
Because they were making 25 grand that night at the bar.
Right.
So I took that because I had a following. I took that and I said, you know what? Okay. I wonder what would happen if I get the door and the bar. I was just getting the door. Let me get the door and the bar.
Bars
So
with money.
I started going in ventures with opening up my own clubs. I actually was involved with 5 different clubs while I was in Cincinnati. But while I'm doing all of this, I'm doing a TV show, a Sunday night TV show. So the visibility for me was humongous. It was so crazy. They introduced the 50th year of the Bengals. We had they were bringing all the players back. Man, I got one of the biggest ovations out of all the guys strictly because of what I did after football. After football. Because not only was I doing a radio show, I was doing a TV show. I had parties going on that everybody was coming to, and I wound up coaching high school at a school where nobody wanted to be involved in, and I helped turn them around. So you're talking about putting myself in a situation where I was extremely visible, and I'm still visible to this day in Cincinnati.
Wow.
I'm still visible. I still go back and have a party every year.
DMV boy done good.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, but he didn't tell you he don't live in Cincinnati.
No, I'm still trying to work the market here in Chicago. I don't know Chicago that well yet. And I've been here for almost 9 years. But my ventures went in other places. But to answer your question, for me. And wait a minute. And then on top of it, I sing. So I was performing in Cincinnati. And so I always said, if I can find something that's going to allow me to have the same kind of excitement that I was getting in football, man, it was going to be great. I had guys that used to come up to me and they used to ask when they retired after I did, they had no clue what they wanted to do. And they were like, Mike, man, how did you figure out what it was that you wanted to do? And I said, you know what? I said, I love to entertain. And I got an opportunity to do that right after I got finished through the parties and all other stuff I was doing. I was an entertainer. And so they were saying, yeah, man, he's like, I can't find my niche. I cannot find my niche. The good thing that I was able to do was I knew at the end of my career, it was time to start doing something else. So that's when I started having the parties.
Started preparing for that moment.
Yeah. So I just step right into it.
So
before Al asks another question, just a little side note, Mr. Mike Martin, when the Cincinnati Bengals played the 49ers in the Super Bowl, he won the halftime show.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I tell people, you know how they had Bruno Mars and Michael Jackson and Janet and all of them at halftime? I was a halftime show back then. They had a NFL Pepsi Talent Challenge. And I was one of the guys that was involved with that. And I wound up winning. And I won like $25,000 that I donated to Children's Hospital. And it's funny when people say, Mike Martin, the one that sings, they don't say nothing about me playing ball. Mike Martin, that's the guy that sings.
Listen, it's all good. Like you said, any kind of news is good news. But listen, as you're talking about people being successful and having a good run, or being prepared, we know we have our new OC coming in, and I understand that you have a little history with him.
Yeah.
Bieniemy.
Yeah.
But before you go down that history road, because that's what this show is about, those of you who are watching, please make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the like button, share, please. We want to appreciate each and every one of you for our last show, putting in the time and viewing our show. We are really excited about it. Please continue to do so as we try to bring you this great content. You're going to hear it first right here with Mr. Mike Martin tonight. Mr. Martin, here's a question for you.
Yes.
We talk about Mr. Bieniemy coming in the Commanders. This is from another individual in my life again, Dr. George Rutherford, very close individual to me, like a father. He asked this question. We hear a lot of people talking about coaching and black coaches particular. The media is bringing it up oftentimes because I guess the demographics of the number of players versus the demographic for coaches. Mm-hmm. Why is it that we don't hear a lot of the players talking about black coaches? Does it matter with players? Does it not matter? Is it important? The situation with Deion Sanders comes to mind when I think about that, how he went to the HBCUs and just his talent and efficacy alone brought so many people to that particular school that really honestly wasn't really on the map until he showed up. And now transitioning to Colorado where the demographics are different. Why do you think that it's not really necessarily brought up in that context?
You know what? They talk about it. They just don't talk about it, with the media. They do. It's always discussed. You can go to any locker room and you'll hear guys talking about it. But they will not, for some reason, they will not make it public. That I don't know why. I'm not sure.
Is there a blacklist type situation if you bring up a topic that may be taboo to talk about, and you may be, because they all we just discussed that most of the newer players are really looking at that dollar, and they should be looking at that dollar. Are they intimidated that maybe their dollar may change if they bring up certain topics like black coaching, because we all saw when the quarterback from the 49ers took a stance, against black brutality by the police officers and what happened to him.
Right, yeah.
So could that be the issue?
I don't necessarily think that's the issue. I think that there's sometimes they know more than
we do
what they want to put out there. Mm-hmm. For example, they may know some things about a coach where they say, well, you know what, man, he really, he don't know as much as people think he does.
Right.
Or he's not a good communicator. They don't want to blast a coach like that because they want coaches to get the opportunity. But in their mind, they may say, you know what, to keep from putting them on blast, I may not say anything. I keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens because when you play for somebody, you always get a fix on who kind of person they are, and you may be sitting back thinking, "Well, I know why he didn't get no coaching job."
Right.
But I'm not gonna say it because, like you said,
I guarantee you, there's some players with Kansas City. They would never make it public, but they're sitting back there saying, "I don't know if Eric gonna make it over there."
Yeah.
Why not? Well, he's the kind of guy that blah 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 blah. They got because they win him.
Yeah.
But they're not going to stop a coach from achieving whatever it is they want to achieve. They just may not talk about it.
Right. And it's like we were talking about. It's like we were talking about too. Is talking about the old school coach and the new school players. Some of them might not appreciate the hard coaching, and some do. So it's just a matter of what kind of coach you actually like to play under, and what kind of coach motivates you, and does that kind of coaching motivate the players that we have? We have to figure it out.
Here's another example. I just saw something where the receiver coach for the Bengals may be taking the OC job with with the Cardinals. So Chad Johnson, aka Ocho Cinco, is trying to throw his hat, his name in the ring for being the wide receivers coach of the Bengals. Mm-hmm. And they killing Chad. It was like, we do not want this guy in Cincinnati making everything about him. And he, because Chad actually interned with the Browns for a minute. He left. He said they want too much. They want too much of my time. So he wound up leaving. But now he's saying, you know what? Maybe I should throw my hat in the ring if the guy gets the job with the Cardinals. I'll throw my hat in the ring to wind up being a coach, wide receivers coach, assistant coach, whatever, with the Bengals. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, nobody wants. It's like bringing that kid in from Florida. What's his name? Tebow. I bring Tebow. Now you bringing all the other stuff in with him. Chad Ochocinco. He did a lot of noise when he was in the league, and when he got out.
And he's still at it.
Yeah.
Mike, I had a question about how important coaching is at the NFL level, especially as a black player and a black wide receiver skill player. How important is coaching at the NFL level? Obviously, he was a very talented brother. He wouldn't be there. You know what I'm saying? So how important is it? Is it life or death, or does that make that big of a difference whether you're successful as an individual player and also winning? What's your opinion on that?
I think coaches are very important because, for example, you got a guy like Justin Jefferson, very good receiver. He needs somebody to keep him on his toes, somebody to keep letting him know, okay, hey, you slip, I saw that last route you ran. The reason you dropped the ball was because, and you need somebody to constantly stay on you about those things. That's why you got to have that's why you have the respect as a coach, so the guys will listen to you. But coaching is extremely important, because there's a lot of guys that can actually play, catch the ball, run great routes, but sometimes you get to a point where you start wanting to do your own thing. You need a coach to reel you back in. Mm-hmm. No, we're not starting that. We're not going to do that. Stay with what we're doing, because now you're getting away from the scheme of what we're trying to get done. And so, but yeah, I think coaching is very important, but I think relationships with coaches is even more important, because if you believe in the guy that's teaching you, man, you're going to listen to him. You're going to follow him because you're trying to be better, and you want to be one of those guys that will go to the coach. Hey, coach, I want to be the man. Help me to get better.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, before we take up too much of Mike's time, I got one more question, and it's about it bounces off of coaching. As older guys, we kind of try to mentor these young guys to, being men, being honest and straightforward and doing what you're supposed to do. I know you've been doing a lot of training camps for kids. Do you find that are they willing to listen and learn, or do some of them just have a big head and they're like, I'm the best in the league, so it doesn't really matter what you say?
Let me tell you this. I'm the wide receiver coach for Rivals. So I travel all over the country, coaching high school kids, helping to rank them for colleges. A couple of camps, we had Bryce Young, and the receivers were telling me, hey, coach, can you tell Young to get the ball out of his hands? So I go over to him and say, hey, man, receiver said you're holding the ball too long. He turned to me and said, man, I got this. I was like, hold on, young fella, hold on. I said, I'm just telling you what they're telling me. He's like, man, I know what I'm doing. I said, look, first of all, I'm a grown man. You're not going to disrespect me out here. I said, I'm trying to help you. I said, I'm telling you that they're telling. I said, pretty soon, I'm going to tell them to go tell you. And it ain't going to be like how I'm telling you. Mm-hmm. I said, they're telling me to tell you, let the ball go. You're holding it too long. And then at the end of camp, he came to me because he started doing it. After the end of camp, he came to me and he like, hey, Coach Martin, man, listen, I apologize. He was like, man, I ain't never had nobody talk to me like that. He said, I appreciate that. And when this guy went on and won the Heisman, I'm sitting here thinking, you got to be kidding me. this is the same dude that I talked to when he was in high school about, being respectful. Now this dude's a Heisman Trophy winner and maybe the first quarterback taken in the draft. Maybe the first player taken in the draft.
Right.
I'm like,
you'd be surprised when you touch somebody's life, man. Always live that with the positivity, man. Trying to uplift people and motivate them, regardless of their response, and you never know.
Yeah.
And Derek, I think I told you this before. I had Stefon Diggs. I coached him in the Army All-American game, and he was another one, very disrespectful. He was returning punts. Now, keep in mind, I'm a league leader. I know what I'm talking about. I go to him. I say, "Hey, look." He went back to catch the punt. Before he hit the field in the game, I said, "Hey, north and south, don't be back there dancing." Man, this dude get the ball and he started running around in circles. He must have lost like 20 yards. He goes to the sideline. I'm like, what did we just talk about? Man, I know what I'm doing. I said, hold on. I said, you from the DC area, aren't you? He's like, yeah. I said, me too. I said, I'm from Southeast DC. Listen, let me tell you something. I said, you're not going to disrespect me. Ever. That doesn't happen. I said, so you better get your tone right with me. And he was like, oh, coach, I didn't know you was from DC. Yes, I'm from DC. so act like you got some sense.
Right.
I ran into him. He had just signed a new contract with Minnesota. I ran into him at a camp that Adidas brought him in for. He ran up to me and he hugged me. I was talking to some kids. He hugged me. Coach, what's up, man? He said, y'all need to listen to him. Everything he told me, because he and I was bumping heads all week at camp. But he was like, everything he told me about what was going to happen in college happened. Everything he told me that was going to happen in the pros happened. He said, y'all listen to him because he know what he's talking about. I just saw him last week at the Super Bowl. And all of us walking through and he saw me right. Coach, what's up, coach? No, I know what he called me. Old man. He be trying to be funny. Oh man, what's up, old man? I'm like, what's up, man? He said, man, they tell me you out here trying to sing. Yeah, I'm gonna tear it up too.
Oh man. Well, we appreciate you, Mike, man. We appreciate you coming. You know it's getting late it's getting late when your cousin used your government name. Hey, we get exposed every now and then, but it's all good, man. Hey, I know you got some businesses and stuff like that you are doing down in Chicago, like the what is it my cousin does?
I got what's called the Lab. It's a smoothie bar fitness facility.
Yeah.
I got NFL flag. I got the Marcus Martin football camp coming up for my son. Man, and then I got Rivals. So starting next week, I'm gone almost every weekend.
All right.
We caught you just in time, man. We appreciate
just in time.
You know what though? I love it because one of the things I get to help change somebody's life every day, and I do it in honor of my son. That's what I do.
Amen. I ain't on that. Mike, we're gonna run you out. We appreciate you coming on, brother.
Thank you, fellas.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Look, y'all stay out of trouble, man. Y'all look like y'all some troublemakers.
Hey, well, you know how when you get to this age, it really don't matter. Hey, old folks say anything, it don't matter.
Right. All right, man. Love you guys, man.
All right, see you, Mike, man. See you, Martin.
All good.
So that was Mike Martin, Cincinnati Bengal football player, and apparently a super entertainer.
The entertainer.
Yeah, we appreciate him coming on. Our other guest didn't show up today, but maybe he'll show up in he'll pop on when we get off.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Well, happy Black History Month to everybody, though. We want to say that, man. Celebrate Black African American History Month here, February.
That's right. Well, we're going to roll out of here. That was the show for this week. And we hope y'all stay tuned for next week's part 4 of our series. We will be drafting players. And apparently, I'm not the
Head
guy
coach.
who makes the decisions. I thought I was the guy to make the decisions. So
No, well, we've been trying to say that the whole entire time, man. This is what I'm talking about, man. You suck, man. I've been saying that you had to wait till this guy tell you to say something. Now you want to listen, man. This is what I'm talking about, man. Because what? I'm always right.
All right, so we're gonna take a deep dive and catch y'all on that fourth show
He can
there.
say it.
I refuse.
All right. YouTube, we out of here, baby.
All right, now.